First Choice is a patented new solidifying acid neutralizer from Chematron that aids in safely and effectively cleaning up acid spills. First Choice is specially formulated for acid spills, and as such has several advantages over competitive acid neutralizers. It features a far superior acid neutralization indicator and has superior ease of cleanup and spill containment. It also minimizes splatter when poured on an acid spill, containing the spill rather than extending it. Finally, it generates little to no CO2, making it safe for use even in enclosed areas. We will now go over each of these advantages in detail, starting with superior neutralization indicator. The following chart will compare the visual indicator that is used in First Choice to the other leading dry acid neutralizers on the market today. At the top left, you will see two versions of First Choice, our standard formulation and First Choice HF, a formulation designed to be safe for hydrofluoric acid cleanup, but that can also effectively neutralize other commonly used acids. Below this are the competitors in the market: Splatter, Splatter HF, SpillXA, and NuPig. When you compare these products in their packaged form, you will notice that First Choice is a yellow granular composition, while the competitors are powdery and have a purple hue. First Choice is unique in that when it is spread over the acid spill, it turns the liquid a bright red, indicating that the liquid is still acidic. Once the spill has been neutralized, the area turns to a mustard yellow, indicating that it is safe to clean up. This profound color indicator differs from the other dry acid neutralizers. As you can see, when the competitive neutralizers are poured on the same acid, they get wet, darkening the hue, but they lack a distinct color indicator to signal when the spill has completely neutralized. Additionally, some of the neutralizers do not absorb all the liquid, and the underlying residual liquid can remain acidic if not fully neutralized. Next, we'd like to demonstrate the advantage of First Choice with regards to ease of cleanup and spill containment. There are three aspects to determine the ease of cleanup and spill containment. The first is spreadability. This is the ease of casting the neutralizer over and around the spill without clumping or splashing. Secondly, containment. The ability of the neutralizer to contain the spill and effectively neutralize the acid. Finally, there's cleanup. The ease of sweeping up solidified acid neutralizer. First Choice excels in all three of these aspects. Let's compare the various brands with respect to these aspects of spill cleanup and containment. We'll start with Splatter and Splatter HF. They generally do a poor job when it comes to containment and cleanup. While Splatter casts easily without clumping and stopping up, when it comes in contact with the acid, it forms a crust that sits on top of the spill. This crust crumbles easily and can trap unneutralized liquid below it. Splatter HF is generally poor when it comes to all aspects of containment and cleanup. It clogs up in the shaker and becomes a sticky mess when it comes in contact with the acid, and the gooey paste is difficult to clean up and may still be acidic. Now, SpillXA does a good job in this area. It spreads easily, forms a semi-solid barrier that contains the spill, and the neutralized mass cleans up easily with a scooper or broom. It's also important to note at this time that SpillXA has long been considered the premium dry acid neutralizer in the market, and commands a heavy price premium over the others. Moving on to NuPig, which is one of the newer entrants into the market. It performs poorly and has the same drawbacks as Splatter. Now, let's discuss First Choice and First Choice HF. These products have been designed to cast easily and resist clumping. Once they come in contact with the acid, they act like a sponge, absorbing the acid and solidifying and forming a barrier that contains the spill. And then once neutralized, the semi-solid mass cleans up easily with a scoop or a broom. Now that we've explained the comparison, we would like to show you what this looks like. First, we're going to demonstrate the behavior of NuPig acid neutralizer on a standard lab floor using 25% hydrochloric acid. This is the acid being poured on the floor, and as you can see, the NuPig acid neutralizer starts to bubble and pop as soon as it comes in contact with the acid. Now you'll notice that the granules are sitting on top of the acid, but not necessarily absorbing all of the acid in the spill. As the spill gets covered up, you can see the darker hue, but really no color change. We wait 20 minutes, and it goes to clean up the acid, the neutralized acid. You can see that a crust remains on the floor. This crust is difficult to pull up and requires multiple rounds of scrubbing. You'll also notice a stain on the floor. Now, when it goes to get cleaned up with a standard industrial cleaner, you can see that the stain, that residual stain, sets into the floor. And it comes out, but it takes several rounds of cleaning with the industrial cleaner to get the stain out of the floor. Now let's compare this to First Choice. This is the same acid on the same floor using First Choice Acid Neutralizer. The acid's poured onto the floor, and again we make a ring with the acid neutralizer. Now immediately you'll notice the bright red color that goes into the liquid, indicating that it is still acidic and shouldn't be cleaned up yet. But as you can see, as it gets neutralized, it turns a mustard yellow. So again, we cover up the spill, we wait for 20 minutes, and when we go to clean it up, you'll see that it comes off in one quick sweep of the broom. It doesn't stick to the floor and doesn't form a crust. Now there is residual dye, but when it's cleaned up with the same industrial floor cleaner, you can see that nearly all of that stain comes out, and it's a very quick cleanup, and that dye basically just goes away. The next advantage we'd like to talk about is absence of splatter. As we mentioned, certain acid neutralizers have the tendency to splatter and pop, extending a spill rather than containing it. To show you this comparison, we'd like to show you a video, and it shows you how some neutralizers splatter while First Choice doesn't. The first neutralizer we're going to talk about is Nupig, and what you'll notice here is that Nupig acid neutralizer, we're pouring it into a container that contains hydrochloric acid, and around the outside we've got a piece of acid indicating pH paper. So as soon as any acid hits it, it's going to turn bright red. So you'll notice as soon as we pour it into the container, it starts bubbling and foaming, and then you'll see around the outside all the popping and bubbling. Now if this was a large spill, you could see how it could extend the spill much further than the spill itself. Next, we'd like to show Spill Fighter. Same amount of acid, same pH paper, and you can see it tends to clump in the container. It also bubbles and pops, and you'll notice I couldn't even get it out of the tube. But when you put it in there, you can see a finer splatter pattern, but still it's covering the entire pH paper, so it very much extends the spill. Now let's talk about First Choice. First Choice has been formulated to minimize splatter, and as you can see, there's still a little bubbling, but it's more viscous and it contains that spill rather than extending it. And what you'll notice over time, you'll see a little bit of splatter pattern, but really it does a great job of containing the spill. Now, the next thing we want to show you is the mapping of each of these acid neutralizers. These are, again, this was the results of the experiment, and as you can see, First Choice and First Choice HF have minimal splatter pattern, and they do a great job of containing the spill. Spill Fighter and Spill Fighter HF both extend the spill, and Spill Fighter does a terrible job at keeping that spill contained within the barrier ring. Spill XA, as before, does a great job as an acid neutralizer, but it's also a premium on the market. And Nupig does a horrible job. In fact, the liquid itself spilled out of the container. It was bubbling and popping so much. But this hopefully gives you an idea of the impact of splatter when cleaning up an acid spill. Finally, we would like to compare the brands with respect to CO2 generation during neutralization. It is important to note that when an acid is neutralized, most neutralizers generate appreciable amounts of CO2 gas, and therefore when an acid is neutralized in enclosed areas, the CO2 generated will always displace oxygen. Since many acids are stored in closets or used in enclosed vessels, the displacement of oxygen can be dangerous and even life-threatening. It is also important to note that unlike most dry acid neutralizers, First Choice produces little to no CO2. To demonstrate the impact of CO2 generation, We have depicted on the following table an example that displays the portion of a 4,000 gallon tank's volume, which will be occupied by CO2 gas when 1 inch of remaining acid is neutralized by the various brands of acid neutralizer. In this table, we will compare the level of CO2 generated when common acids shown on the left are neutralized using the various brands of neutralizers across the top. Next, we would like to draw your attention to the legend on the bottom left. For the sake of this example, we're going to use a clear container to depict safe. This means that there is little to no CO2 generated. Now the brown in the bottom of the second picture indicates the level of CO2 gas that's generated. This depicts up to 25% full, and it's dangerous because while somebody standing up may be okay, somebody working on their knees has potential for asphyxiation. In the next example, we show tanks that are 25 to 99% full, which is very dangerous, and then of course a 100% full tank would be life-threatening. As you can see with first choice, regardless of the acid used, there's little to no CO2 generated, and as such, it's safe to use even in an enclosed area. Using SpillX under the same conditions generates dangerous amounts of CO2, regardless of the acid being neutralized. Spillfighter and Newpig both generate copious amounts of CO2, and therefore are very dangerous to life-threatening to use in any enclosed area. It is important to note that while procedures are normally in place to avoid CO2 asphyxiation, mistakes happen. First choice eliminates this problem completely. It comes down to this: if you can avoid the potential for mistakes to happen, then the protocols become unnecessary. There's one final advantage to first choice. We have demonstrated how first choice features a superior neutralization indicator, superior ease of cleanup and spill containment, how it generates little to no splatter when it contains the spill, rather than extending it, and how it can be used in enclosed spaces due to little to no CO2 generation. But what is really exciting is that we're bringing first choice to market at a price equal to or lower than that of competitive products. Now this is a comparison of end-user pricing of the neutralizers on the market today. What we have across the top are the various package sizes that these neutralizers are sold in, and down the left are the various brands that we've discussed. Note that this is a table for general acid neutralizers. We're going to talk about the HF acid neutralizers in a moment. What we'd like to show you is that when it comes to the shaker, we're pricing ourselves at or below all of the competitors in this field. At the intermediate package size, which is a box, a pail, or jerry can, again, we're coming in a few dollars cheaper than the closest competitor and quite a bit cheaper than Newpig. We're going to sell ours in a jerry can, which is a little easier to pour than a pail or a box, but it's going to be the same volume and weight as the competitors. Now, the large package size, which is a 5-gallon pail in most cases, but a box in terms of Spillfighter, as you can see, we're going to price ours competitively with Spillfighter and cheaper than Newpig and much cheaper than SpillXA. And then when it comes to the bulk pack, only SpillXA offers this at $800 for a 20-gallon fiber barrel. We're going to offer our 20-gallon fiber barrel, which is the same volume, at $430, so about half the price. Now, when it comes to hydrofluoric acid neutralizers, they typically command a premium in the market, and there's really only two brands, Spillfighter HF and SpillXA down the left-hand side. They come in the same package sizes across the top. So what we'll call out is that we're going to be matching the price of Spillfighter HF, which is far less than the current premium SpillXA, even though we perform the same or better in every category. When it comes to the intermediate package size, we're going to be offering ours to the public at about $40 for our jerry cans, whereas Spillfighter offers their 10-liter box, which is about twice the size, at $170. You will note, though, that even though we're only offering the 5-liter, if we were to double that at 10 liters, it would be $80 versus $170 to the end user. So again, we're giving a value price for premium performance. Next, you'll see our large package size. The retail price on this is going to be somewhere around $132 for a 5-gallon pail. Spillfighter doesn't offer this size, but SpillXA offers their 5-gallon pail for $260. And finally, when it comes to the bulk pack, the 20-gallon fiber barrel, we're going to offer ours for $515, where Spell XA is going to offer theirs for around $800. As you can see, regardless of whether it is the traditional acid neutralizer or our hydrofluoric acid neutralizers, we're going to offer these at superior value for premium performance. So there you have it, the advantages of First Choice Solidifying Acid Neutralizer. With its superior neutralization indicator, superior ease of cleanup and spill containment, absence of splatter, little to no CO2 generation, and premium performance, all coming at a competitive price. If you'd like to know more about this product, or you're interested in distributor pricing, please contact us at the link that's listed below this video in the comments section. Thank you very much.